Hey folks, welcome back. So Bitwig Studio or Bitwig did something yesterday they have never done before, at least as far as I know. They kind of announced that the beta version is coming later next month. They never did this before. Usually it's like that. They say, oh, here's a new version. These are the features. Here's the beta version, download it, have some fun, give us some feedback, bam, 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 right? And then we go from there. So this time it's a bit different. We get an announcement that the beta is coming next month, August the 27th. You can download the beta, so it's 29 days to go, right? And they did this by just posting some kind of image. I'll show you in a minute. And some people speculated why that is. Some people said maybe it's because they went bankrupt, right? Or maybe they need to drive the sales up. The sales are low this year. And in my opinion, none of this is the case because they already had this year a big project, which was the Bitwig Connect, the audio interface. And it was a very, very big deal for them. It's the first hardware device. You have to deal with drivers, 3 different platforms, right? Mac, Linux, and Windows. A lot of bugs. You have to make the implementation for Bitwig because in Bitwig itself you have some special panes to deal with the Bitwig Connect. So a lot of things to change. Also, Bitwig Studio 6 is a big project. A lot of features to implement, a lot of bugs to figure out which kind of direction we want to go. Is this the right way to go, right? Is this the right feature set? And so on. So a lot of things to think about and to develop, and not enough manpower. Also here the rotor control, which I showed you in some of my videos, was a big project for them. They had to deal with different things here with Melbourne Instruments directly because it's a very special kind of MIDI controller. So it's set up a bit differently. You have a lot of data on the device itself, and it's not so much software based. Anyway, so 3 big projects basically this year: Bitwig Studio 6 coming, the device here, and also the rotor control. So this was probably the case why we have such a late announcement for Bitwig Studio 6. So anyway, I want to show you the picture here. They showed this yesterday on their Instagram. It's basically just a picture with a big 6. Some hints in the background what's coming, and then beta coming August the 27th. So if you zoom in, you can see a lot of different things, or at least you can see that Bitwig looks a lot of, or much different. We have a dark background here. There's some kind of minor text on the arranger itself. There's some kind of paper clip here. This looks a bit different here. I would say the automation looks a bit different. So I don't want to go too much into these fake speculations because I already know what's in there roughly, and I can't tell you. I am NDA'd, right? I can say what's in there, what's not in there. All I can say, and all I want to say, is they really delivered on what they said on their last post, where they said, you know, we want to improve on the piano roll, we want to improve on the arranger, and in my opinion, they kind of delivered on this, at least as far what I saw. And the wait is over. It's still 28, 29 days to go, and then we can try out the beta version, of course, for ourselves, download this thing, have some fun, and then you can wait for Bitwig Studio 7 1 week later. That's how it goes. I think I will stream on August 27th, so prepare for that. I want to show you all the things. And I kind of can't wait to show you this, actually. I can't wait. It's still 28 days, so it's not that far, but still 28 days, right? In the meantime, you can go to the Discord, of course, to the Bitwig Discord. We have here a dedicated channel for Bitwig 6. It looks like this. A lot of memes. People going mad. Oh, Buzz, it's actually a nice software. I used this at some point. So yeah, people speculating here, what's going on, what is this, what is that? A lot of shit posting, a lot of fun. So make sure you join the Discord, and we can wait together for August the 27th, sorry. and then we can try it out together. So that's the plan, okay? Also here Bitwig Connect 412, right? So this is the big hardware project that I had this year, and that's me laughing at stepwise because it's just such a funny device. Anyway, so Bitwig Studio 6 coming, finally it's here. So today someone asked me about the Bitwig sampler. Time stretching inside of the sampler is such a topic sometimes. I saw it over the years in certain forums that people ask, can you time stretch with a sampler? So first up, inside of the sampler you can actually do everything, right? You can also slice drum sounds. It's just not straightforward. It's not like you have an automatic mapping function where you can just pull down a threshold and then it finds out all the transients inside of a drum loop and then puts it on a keyboard. That's not possible, but you can still use modulations and fake this kind of slicing functionality. It's just not straightforward. Also, time stretching is possible. So here I have some kind of music loop in the background, and you can see it's, maybe I go back here to 127. That's the original BPM of this loop here. Also on the left side, you can see it's on stretch HD. So it's in a stretch mode. And the tempo here is defined 127. So now when I play this back, it's the original speed and the original pitch. Right, so it loops. It's just a random music loop that I found on my hard drive. I made at some point. So now we can change the BPM, right? And because it's in stretch mode, it kind of fills in the gaps because it needs to play this sample back a bit slower. And then you stretch it out and it tries not to change the pitch. So you want to play this audio back slower, and usually the pitch goes down with that. But because we have time stretching or stretching enabled, it keeps the pitch static at the same value and it plays it back slower. We can even change the grain size here. So the grain size is basically when you go in here, it's just a small portion like this, and then the stretch algorithm just loops this to fill in the gaps, because you stretch the audio apart because you want to play it back slower, but you want to keep the pitch, so it fills in the gaps here with small little grains. That's how it's called, but it's just a small little loop on the audio, and it plays these loops back, and you can hear this when you play it back very slowly. Right, there are small little loops moving forward and playing and filling in the gaps. So this is how the algorithm works here, the stretch algorithm. There are different ones. Maybe let's go to stretch normal. Yeah, you can hear it more clearly, all the small little things. So anyway, that's not what I want to show you. I want to show you how this works in the sampler. So we know that we have some grains, and we play these grains to fill in the gaps because we stretch the audio apart. So we put this in the sampler here. And here we also have a repitch mode, and it says it's C3, which is probably not true, but C3 is just don't add any pitch at all. It's no key track, and so key tracking is basically disabled when you play here the note of C3. So you put in a note, and we can just hit play, and it plays in the sampler. So it's of course not the right speed here. We need to play this at 127. 127. Right, so the MIDI triggers exactly when we hit the end of the sample. because we play this back at the original pitch and at the original BPM. But now the problem is sometimes people want to change the BPM and then this doesn't fit anymore. Right, so we play back slower and here the clip basically ends here. So what we can do is we can use time stretching here in the sampler. And it's not straightforward, you know, I want to say that. So we have this in repitch mode. So we put this into textures mode here, granular playback, preserving sample pitch. So now we have a speed knob here and a grain size, exactly the same thing as we had here on the left side, right? We have stretch in the sampler, it's called textures mode, and then we have here the grain size, just 3 buttons. In the sampler, we have a knob here where we can change the grain size in milliseconds. So this is basically the size in milliseconds, how big the small audio chunk is that is used to loop and to fill in the gaps. So let's try this out. We have here the speed knob. So this is time stretching, but here we have a speed knob in percentage, which is not very helpful. But what we can do is we can replace the speed knob and make the playback manual, kind of. And we do this by using here this freeze playhead button, right? And if you push this button, you can see here, the speed knob changes to a position knob. Now we can change the position manually inside of the sample. So what we know is these are kind of 4 bars, 1 bar, 2 bars, 3 bars, 4 bars, right? So we can kind of create a phase signal, a position signal with all kinds of different modulators. So I'm using here just a classical LFO. And the ramp signal is just a ramp or reversed saw wave. You can see it's just going up in value. And we put in here a timing mode because the timing is based on the BPM. And then we can say we have 4 bars to fill, right? And then we modulate here the whole thing because we know this is the start of the sample and this is the end of the sample. And then we want to play this back exactly with 4 bars as a speed setting here. Maybe open this up. You can see it's already here scanning through the waveform. And we want to retrigger, of course, here when the note hits. And we want to put this into unipolar mode because we only want to modulate from 0 to 1, right? This is 0 and this is 1. So now we can hit playback. You can see it fits perfectly. It plays back the sample exactly like this sample. Because we tell the position knob, play this position at any time, and then we time sync this here to the LFO, which is time sync to the BPM, and we fill exactly here, or we spread this sample exactly across 4 bars, because we have 4 bars. When we say spread this to 2 bars, then it's playing this twice as fast. Right? So we want to have 4-1 here. And now we can change the BPM, and the sample doesn't change in pitch, but it changes in playback speed. So the playback speed changes, but the pitch stays the same. But in the textures mode, we can also change the pitch here with this knob, completely not dependent on the playback speed. So we can say, oh, we want to have this here maybe an octave lower, and the playback speed is still the same. Or maybe an octave higher. So with this, we kind of completely separated pitch from playback speed, and the textures mode kind of helps us with this very easily, actually. So when you know the length of your kind of sample or your loop, you can work very easily here with the fake phase signal, with the fake positioning signal inside of the sampler with the textures mode on and the freeze knob on, because you can be very specific with your playback of the sample. What we also can do is we can change the grain size. And let's say I want to play this here at exactly 100 BPM. And I can go down here, zoom in and say here, oh, this is probably 132th note, right? And you can see here it's 80 milliseconds. So we can type this into the grain size, 80 milliseconds. So now each grain is exactly here 132 note long, basically on the grid. Maybe it sounds better. But the grain size is basically matched with the BPM now. And with the motion, we can kind of change how the grain moves, or the motion of the playhead moves over these grains, maybe back and forth a little bit, so we have more like a smooth result. Not so much. Maybe make it bigger. So let's say instead of here, maybe use 37. Let's see how this sounds. Also, if you don't like how the stretch algorithm sounds, because it's so, it's so kind of so many artifacts, sometimes, not always, with musical stuff, it works very well to use voice stacking. So let's use here 5 voice stacks. We just duplicate the sampler 5 times. And then on each instance, we use here voice control. Or stack spread, it's maybe better. And then we spread out the grain size, so each stack gets a different grain size and maybe a different motion. Motion parameter, we have to tweak this here a bit later, not too much. And then you fill in the gaps much better, because you have different layers, and each layer plays kind of the sample back a bit differently, and then you fill in the gaps and it gets more dense. And it maybe sound better, I don't know. Haven't tried it yet. So maybe use your -1 to +1, because now we can spread out here in the stereo field a bit more. Let's see how this sounds. So use your second one, because here I can choose -1 to +1, and here I use 0 to +1, because I want to just modulate here in the positive range, and here I want to modulate into the negative range, which means left and then a positive right. Let's see how this sounds. So it becomes a bit more dense. Let's go full here with 16 stacks. Makes it a bit quieter. The smaller grain sizes don't work here for this material. Maybe it's better for drums. Now you can play this back very slowly. So it sounds very blurred, but sometimes it's what you want. But you can work around certain things here and try out to use stacking to kind of smooth and fill in the gaps if you don't like the artifacts of the stretch algorithm here, right? So we can hear these small little repetitions, and this is much smoother. So you have some options here. So sometimes this algorithm here, the stretch one, where you have just 3 options for the grain size, I would say sometimes the sampler is even better because you have this fluid grain size knob. You can change the motion, you can use voice stacking. It's sometimes even better to have this inside of the sampler. And the next question would be probably, can I change the pitch with the keyboard? And I think if you have here the key tracking on, you can. Let me try this here. And if you like to have this kind of old school sampler style, then you use maybe bit 8 on that. And the jitter, clock, maybe here the quantization level. I made a video about bit 8 and how you can use it to kind of fake this sampler sound, this Akai sampler sound here with the bit 8. Because you don't need to sample with bit reduction and then put it in the sampler and then pitch it down. You can kind of fake this here by modulating the clock knob and change it with the key. So key tracking basically the clock here. It works kind of well. So I showed this in a different video. I want to go down this rabbit hole, but I just want to show you how you can use the sampler here to make this kind of stretching possible. So you can completely change what you want with the sampler. You can say, oh, play it back at this speed or play it back at this pitch, and you can change it independently from each other. So the sampler is very powerful in my opinion. Also, what I talked about here in the beginning, you can use something like the pitch 12, right? Where you have the keyboard here and you can say, oh, when I press C, I'm playing back, maybe, let's go out of this mode here. This is C4. Put this down. Maybe on, what's that, C sharp. C sharp, I started a different position, right? And then you have this here. Right, so you can make some kind of slices with this. It's just not straightforward, and it's not like a easy feature where you just pull down the threshold and then you have all the transients selected on the keyboard. That's not possible. Hopefully we get this at some point. It's probably not in Bitwig 6 because it's focused on arranger and, you know, piano roll and such things. Anyway, I think that's it for this video. I just want to make some kind of combined video. So the Bitwig announcement yesterday, and also this question from yesterday from someone. Combined video. Anyway, let me know what you think about Bitwig Studio 6. Let me know what you think about the sampler, how you use it. If you have questions about the sampler, let me know. I can make a video and show you everything that you can do with the sampler. I mean, everything is possible. Leave a thumbs up, leave a subscription. See you next time. Bye. It's only 28 days, 29 days until Bitwig Studio 6. Nice one.